Welcome to Fandora's Box. This is the podcast where we talk about our favorite fandoms in terms of our thoughts, theories, and opinions. We like to do a little production analysis as well as story dissection. My name is Tyler Gardner, and I am joined, as always, by my friend and co-host, Christian Amante.
Hey, Bossa. Thanks for having me.
What is up, guys? I appreciate each and every one of you coming out today to listen to this podcast. We're gonna have some fun today.
Yes. Our last episode, we started our discussion and our sort of deep dive into the Avatar: Last Airbender universe. Just to recap, probably one of the best animated shows in existence in terms of, everything. Animation style.
I was gonna say, I think of all
voice
time.
acting,
Yeah.
story development, character development. Beautiful. Personally, one of my favorite. I never get tired of watching it. Anytime, it's one of those shows where anytime it's on, doesn't matter the episode, I'll watch it for sure.
It was like that in 2005. Hasn't changed since.
And we're going into 2023 with that same energy.
Yeah.
So last time we built a little bit of a framework, a little bit of scaffolding, just to kind of set the world and universe up for those, as if you were listening to it, if you had not seen the show prior.
If you'd only seen like 1 or 2 episodes, don't quite know what it is, just tuning in for the first time, we try to give you the arms and armaments necessary to go in and continue watching it.
Yeah, so we set up the Avatar: Last Airbender universe. We also did a quick little kind of scratch the surface of season 1, main characters, so that way you're familiar with some names, familiar with the big plots, because there's obviously the main plot for the entire series, but then there's just so many interconnecting plots, subplots, overarching, underarching, any other word you want to think of, it's there.
Permeates the soul.
In this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little bit of open discussion, sort of talking about our opinions, our favorite episodes from season 1. Moving past this episode, we will be doing deep dives into different characters, different episodes, different plots, all that good stuff. So again, you're probably going to have some questions. I still have questions. So just take a breath.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know if did you have an icebreaker plan?
An icebreaker?
Yeah.
No, Aang broke the ice.
All right. So let's do a fun question. So Tyler.
Yes.
If you existed in the Avatar universe, you already know what I'm going to ask.
Yes, I do.
If you're in the Avatar universe, and they had little games like the little PC games back in the Nickelodeon websites back in the day, and those are the funnest things.
Oh, like you talk about the games, the quizzes.
Like the little character. Yeah, exactly. The quizzes,
like,
and then you can make your own little character.
If you were going to be any Hogwarts house, which would it be?
Basically, yeah, exactly. What element would you have? Would you be a firebender, airbender, waterbender, or earthbender?
So, obviously, I mean, that's the question on your mind, especially back 2005, Tyler, 2005 kid. You have that question's always in the front of your mind. Like, it would just be so cool. I mean, honestly, end of the day, I'd be happy with any element.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had a choice,
I'm going to be soccer.
No, like any element. Like if I'm born and I'm just able to bend whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm good. But I think if I had the choice, as you posed, firebending for sure. I think it just seems so much fun. Obviously, the destructive, offensive nature is very, very fun. But then it also seems to have some sort of springiness to it, almost like kind of akin to airbending with the acrobatics.
Yeah.
And in some instances, spoiler, you actually see people like literally flying with the power of the fire.
Yeah.
So
some aerials.
Personally, that's my opinion. Christian, what about you?
It's a very solid choice, my friend. That would be my second choice.
Oh.
My first choice, however, is earthbending, bro. Yeah. I gotta be an earthbender. I just related to it so hard growing up because, I was always bigger than everybody else.
Yeah.
In case you guys didn't know, I'm a 6'2" human being.
Yeah.
And I was 6 foot when I entered high school. So I grew fast as shit. I didn't grow much after that, but I grew fast as shit. So I was always pretty big, and I just, having that much like weight, the rock hardness,
I really power.
Yeah, I loved all the earthbenders in Avatar are cool as shit.
Yeah,
like they're all except for that one kind of douchey general.
Yep.
But other than that,
I was gonna say one other guy too.
Oh yeah. Oh, fair enough. But you got Boomy, you got Toph, you got the Boulder.
The Boulder.
Yeah, who feels conflicted. I didn't know that he was actually voiced by a WWE guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know because they couldn't get The Rock himself, so they got an actual WWE guy.
I don't think The Rock. I can't see The Rock doing that.
Yeah,
that particular character.
The Boulder, but yeah, they I just loved their aesthetic. I also loved just their martial art, and the way that they do things, where everything's very structured, very strong. Every stance they do, you can't move them. I always loved that because I'm not one of those guys that was like very good with like the concept of like airbending where you're like kind of flying all over the place doing cartwheels and all that stuff. That's cool and all, but as a human being, I was like, I felt more comfortable being like strong with everything that I would do, and I just love. Plus, earthbending is just cool as shit.
Yeah.
You can like mold mountains, like you hit boulders. Season 2 is my favorite season of Avatar.
Yeah.
I love the arena fights. I literally, so they didn't have full cut seasons, like they didn't have the box set.
Oh yeah.
Unless you went out of your way for it, but they used to have like book 2, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, 4. And I had that volume that literally had all of the introduction to Toph and the entire arena episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking smacked, and I would watch them all the time. So earthbending, bar none, but firebending I think was really cool because it's multifaceted. I loved Iroh, I love Zuko. I like the fact that fire has like 2 different sides to it. You got the really aggressive side, which obviously causes the fire and the flames. It's very passionate. But then you have like Iroh's side, which is like peaceful, and if you are really calm, if you're calm to the point of you are chill and you're at one with your own spirit, you can redirect fucking lightning because of how calm you are.
Yeah.
Plus, I really love Zuko. I got emotional when he was like crying in the fucking thunderstorm.
Oh yeah.
So I relate to both of those. I couldn't see myself really doing water or air, but
no.
earth.
I think for a time I dabbled with air. I dabbled a little bit with earth.
Yeah. Would that be like your second place pick if you got one?
Honestly, I think, funny enough, I think earth would be my second pick.
Oh, ironic.
For air,
yeah, that's funny.
Air is just a little too. It's weird because you can look at these. So hold on. So before we even go into that, before we deep dive into that, I think it's really cool because you brought up the martial arts. So for those who don't realize, because I realized this watching the show, because being a martial artist myself, they were actually animated in a different style where each element was actually based off a legitimate martial art.
Yeah, and they consulted actual martial artists.
Yeah, so earthbending is based off of the martial art Hungar, which is exactly the same stance. They have very strong stancing. They have iron palm, iron hand, things of that nature. So that's the whole point of the martial art, is to essentially be an unmoving rock. Water is Tai Chi based. It's very circular, very defense minded. Not
redirection.
Yes, exactly. And then air and fire are a little different. They're not specified, but they're based off of distinct Shaolin martial arts. So they're not like a specific like Way of the Tiger or anything like that. Like I think one of them might have been like Eastern Shaolin Kung Fu, but both of those air and fire are both based off of just like not generic but more general Shaolin.
Yeah, I can see the similarities. I think that's why it was really cool to watch Aang versus Azula or Aang versus Zuko.
Yeah,
because
they both had
had all like the leg sweeps, all this stuff, and Aang was really light on his feet, but the firebenders were also pretty fast and light. So those always made for really good action sequences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so now going back to what we were talking about before, it was kind of interesting because the real world sense, the elements and the bending of those elements was based on an actual martial art, but then the styling and the principles and the idea behind each bending was similar as well. So like with Earth, you could say it was much more defense minded. It's a little harder. I mean, it's not hard, but like you have to work a little more to be offensive with Earth, simply because just what off the bat, how slow moving it is. That's why you're much more defense and rooted like the Earth. Water, as we said, was very redirectional. You could definitely make it offensive for sure, but it was always much more redirection and defense minded as well. Kind of keep the peace, redivert, get out of there, kind of
flowing.
Thing. Yeah, and then also like that particular element also had a subset of healing. That was the only other element, as far as I know, that had a literal healing element to it.
Yeah.
Then with fire, it was only offense. If you think of it, there's no real defensive move in firebending. How could there be? Because it's just you're only working with fire. So like the best defense you have is offense, which to me is just kind of more my mindset with martial fighting, anyways. And then with air I have some trouble with because it's tough to see it in either instance being offensive or defensive. Obviously, they can be utilized like that, especially for the show. But for the most part, you're blowing air. So it's a little tough. A lot of times you just see it more for the acrobatics, more the flying side of things. So, and then, like, obviously, the writers knew what they were doing because they made the air nomads monks. Like, they weren't interested in fighting. Yeah, they weren't interested in fighting at all.
I was going to bring that up if you didn't bring it up, actually.
Oh, yeah, I was right there with you. So it was really interesting to see, but I think that's why I had the biggest trouble with, like,
They're also very good at escaping, like escape.
Yes, like air.
They avoid conflict,
Yep. but it's also like air. It's tough to like kind of get away from air. They're
Yeah.
trying to get a hold of air too.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It all makes sense. It's very beautifully written. It all makes sense. Everything I'm saying is simply I'm just pointing out what's already there. I'm not putting opinions on things. Or my only opinion is why I have some issues with other elements versus not, because of the objective nature of those elements and the writing behind it. Again, beautifully well done.
Yeah, and I gotta say, for those out there that are maybe more modern and have modern apps like Instagram, TikTok, I gotta say because TikTok has a lot of fire edits nowadays, like where people will make little short minute long or however many edits of things, and the re-emergence of like these really hard hitting edits of like Toph and like the Earthbenders. It just shows how amazingly done those scenes were, that they stood the test of time and people are still hyped.
Oh, yeah.
It,
Oh yeah, the whole show doesn't age.
Yeah.
It's like a
fine wine.
I don't even want to say it's like a fine wine, because wine is supposed to get better with age, but it's like Avatar just stays as good as it was, which is just so good.
Yeah, that's a great
it's like my love does not diminish the more I watch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow either. It's just like it's always been so high on my list, and it was just the brightest flames burn quickest. It was a quick 3-year run. It came back as Korra. Korra did not hit as hard. I think Korra was definitely more mature.
I was aggressively. Well, this is maybe a topic for another time, but I was aggressively against the existence of Korra.
As was I.
Because what people have to remember is I always wanted there to be more Avatar, and I was mad into Avatar back then, especially late 2000s, early 2010s. I was obsessed, absolutely obsessed with them, and there was rumors, literally like I don't know if they were called leaks at the time, but they were like little rumors that like there was another Avatar going to be in development.
Yeah.
And literally the one of the headlines or one of the first lines of the article was just like, it's going to take place 75 years later. I'm like, no, it is not. You're going to kill off all my characters.
Because that's what you're attached to. You're attached to the
I
characters.
was attached to them. Plus, there were so many things that were unresolved in the actual thing. Because remember that there's an episode in the second season where, spoilers a little bit, but it's fine, where basically Prince Zuko, he tries to help a boy, and then the boy realizes that he's a
Fire Nation.
Fire Nation, and then he's just like, you're blah blah blah, you betrayed, you're not gonna be like the best. But like now that he's Fire Lord at the end of it, once again spoilers, you never get to see him transform the world himself.
Yeah.
And make everybody realize that he's the good guy. There was no redemption. They just cut things off very quickly. Also, they kind of left things unresolved at the end with characters like Azula. You don't quite know what happened to her. And all that shit. So
to your point, yes. For most people, no. There actually is there are other sources. What they did afterwards was they created a couple different books to talk about different things.
Yeah.
So in one book, and I thought it's comics too, because they brought back all the same characters, because it was only like not even a year later. They went into what happened to Zuko's mother and things of that nature. And I think there was up with a couple of different things too, but they didn't go past that. So there was no other shows, no other movies that brought in, it expanded upon and finalized things for the series itself. The only thing they did were these kind of half-hearted books, which were fine, but
that's why I'm kind of excited that there are rumors. I don't know if they're gonna be true, but there are rumors that they're gonna be trying to do another series based on what happened afterwards, like right after the third season.
And it's
that'd
also
be great because I don't really fuck with Korra. The whole
I can understand. I was of the same
steampunk
reservation. I was of
thing.
the same exact reservation. And finally one day I said,
I think I tried it with like 1 or 2 episodes and I was like, nah.
I did it just because I think I was like so desperate. I felt like a fucking junkie because I was like, I need more
I need
Avatar in my
something,
life. And the only thing I have is fucking Korra. So I just tried it, and actually, to its credit, was actually very, very good. They went, obviously, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
They tried to keep some of the same elements, like they created like the whole Team Avatar group like they had in the original series. But there was no, obviously, like, overarching villain. There's all sorts of different things going on. And it was a much more maturely written show.
Well, that was what I found was a little strange, because I thought everyone was just, that was what everyone was saying. Is like, it's going to be a more mature show. It's going to be more like older teens, that kind of area.
Yeah, the people that grew up with Avatar.
But when I was like watching, I'm like, it's not melded right, in my opinion.
It was very...
Like, there were a lot of sudden, like, oh, this is a little risque, and then it would just go back, and I'm like, you can't be on both sides. You have to pick, your demographic. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying, like, you can only apply to one demographic at a time. I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna be like going to that age, you have to like stay at that age. You can't go like to Caillou right afterwards and then go right back, you know, back and forth. Plus, I also like they had weird characters. Like they had Discount Sokka.
They had characters that you couldn't quite. Yeah, that was the thing. You couldn't quite connect with the characters to some degree because like one of the characters was just like too angsty, and then like at first you liked him and he seemed like kind of a badass, but then he was just like not that way.
Yeah, that was the thing about Avatar that was crazy is that you could attach yourself to almost every single one of those characters.
Yeah, they're very relatable. They were just so well written.
I think maybe that might be my problem is that I just was so attached to the original series.
It's hard to like you feel like you're like betraying them.
Yeah, my expectations were so absurdly high.
Because I made that mistake when I first got into Korra was bringing in the expectation that it's going to be just as good, which you can't do. You really can't compare them because even though they're of the same show and universe, they are two very distinct shows because you have the issues that go on with Avatar and how they're handled, but then there are just issues that are so different with Korra because obviously you don't have like the Fire Nation, the world's not at war anymore, so it's a much more mature show and the scenarios that they're brought into are very different, but they go into some really cool scenarios and they go into some things that aren't talked about in the original Avatar: The Last Airbender show, which was really cool. Like they talk about the first Avatar and things of that nature, and they get really into like the spirit world and things of that nature. So that was really, really cool. And then I think the last season, the villain of the last season was really cool because he was essentially just like a terrorist. It was really cool.
The masked dude or whatever.
No. Well, that was season 1. So, I guess there were 2 terrorists. But there was one guy who was like... well, so like the first terrorist in the first season, he was specifically targeting benders.
Yeah.
And then in the last season, I can't remember exactly who he was targeting, but he just seemed to kind of be... not everybody and anybody, but like certain things. A lot went on in that show as well.
Yeah.
And there wasn't one... continuous theme that carried the whole show like Avatar, which I think helped it because Avatar always had the root of getting Aang to learn the other 3 elements.
Yeah.
And no matter what was going on, you knew it was going to come back there, which was fine. Korra didn't have that. So you could almost take each season as a separate show because the big overarching plots for each season there wasn't no like bridge connecting them. It was like one season they're doing this, then it gets resolved. Next season they're dealing with this, and then it kind of gets resolved. And then in the third season, everything just kind of gets, fucked up again.
Yeah, and I was, I think I was just a salty human. You know what I mean? I was to the point where like I was so obsessed, and Tyler's whittled me down a little bit, and he's like, all right, you're gonna give a chance to Korra, and you're gonna watch it all the way through, and I'm like, okay.
I don't think he has to like Korra. Well, I mean, you should watch it even though you're not gonna like it. But it's like you can't compare them.
Right.
You really can't. And I think the writers really strive to make the distinction. That's why they set it so far ahead to try and disconnect you from everything that happened because I think they realized how good of a show they had before.
Yeah.
And I think they weren't trying to make another Avatar show. They were trying to do different things, which some things worked, some things didn't. It is I'd love to be objectively Avatar was better, but it's always going to be an opinion.
Yeah,
personally, I personally like.
And I'm probably gonna get mad hate in this podcast for not even giving Korra a chance, and she's still shitting on it.
Hey, if you want? Hey, I was the same thing until like 2 years
I watched
ago.
2 episodes and was just done.
I was the same exact way until 2 years ago. Then I finally said, you know what? I got to be mature about this. I got to give it its chance. Yeah, which I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah, but that being said, with what we're doing so far, in case you guys have, I hope you've seen the episodes prior of our Avatar podcast, but. So far we've gone to the first season, and I gotta say this is peak Avatar right now that we're getting into.
Yes.
End of the first season, going into the second season. Those are all my favorites. So I'm just fucking excited.
So to dig into your opinion some more, like you did to me, do you have a favorite character from Avatar: The Last Airbender?
The whole series overall.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tall order.
We could keep it to just the season. No, we'll do season overall. Series overall.
Series overall? Okay. God, do I want to be generic and say Uncle Iroh?
I mean, it's a solid answer.
That's a solid. That's the thing, though. It's a safe answer.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer.
It's a good answer.
Nobody's going to deny that.
Oh, God, I might have to say
it's very okay. Iroh can be
I might have to say Iroh,
That's fine. Yeah,
it's not the most creative answer, but honestly, Uncle Iroh, just because he's just so perfectly written and so lovable.
Yeah.
And he's really the father figure of the whole show.
Absolutely, yeah, because he comes in, spoiler, he comes into contact with literally every fucking main character
Yeah.
and like changes their thinking in some way because
Yeah.
he drops these wisdom bombs.
Especially with his backstory, you know, he has such a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
He used to be a general
In the Fire Nation Army,
Yeah, you know,
called the Dragon of the West.
He quote unquote failed at a siege, and like his comrades kind of shit on him, but he lost a lot of stuff in that battle and kind of reworked his whole thinking. You know?
Yeah, so I think with that, the little bit of backstory without going too deep was he was in charge of conquering the main city or the capital city the capital city for the Earth Kingdom named Ba Sing Se,
which is a massive fortified kingdom.
And I'm not sure
high walls.
I'm not sure if it was like he failed, where he's actually successful. He gets through the wall of Ba Sing Se, which has supposedly never been done before.
Yeah.
He gets news that
impregnable.
He gets news that his son died, which sucks nuts.
Yeah, it's
so my question was, and I haven't really done research into this, is like I don't know how much he failed versus he just gave up. Because it seemed like up until that point he was doing fine in the siege, and then he gets news that his son died. So I'm wondering if he just like kind of quit.
Yeah, and Iroh, up until that point, Iroh was actually a prominent figure in the Fire Nation military.
Oh yeah, he's Dragon of the West.
He really fell from grace though.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of the other like Fire Nation like extras and generals kind of roasting him like, oh, it's a failed general or whatever.
Yeah, it was kind of funny in season 1. Zhao, as I want to say dumb as he is, because he's just so generic. He's the angry guy that just gets angry.
He's the angry guy that just gets angry.
In the end of season 1, Zhao is promoted to admiral, and he is able to amass this huge naval fleet to take on and conquer the Northern Water Tribe. And he actually comes up to Iroh as an advisor, because I think he recognizes that regardless of what happened, Iroh is still, he was still a great general, a very smart, wise man.
Literally breathes fire.
So he's like, hey man, I don't really, your past is bad and you've been dishonored, but I still can recognize your objective military strength, so join me.
Yeah, and Iroh, that's not to take away from Iroh and his sway around the world. Like, this guy literally has the White Lotus, he's got friends in high places, let's say.
Yeah.
And he's got the wisdom to go with it, and I don't think his brother, I don't think Ozai really recognizes that, and I think that's one of the major downfalls of.
No, he did well.
Iroh,
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Well, the point being, I chose that Iroh as the safe bet just because of his.
I think
he's down to earth. He offers the most wisdom. He's lovable. He has got a story that's really changed him out of everything. He's got the most perfect, kind of redemption arc. He's made a point to help his his nephew, come from evil into goodness. He's forgiving. Because Zuko was not an easy teenager to handle.
No.
The guy was a douche, and Iroh literally forgave him. He
every
hugged
time.
him, and he's like, dude.
And he in every chance that Iroh gave him, Zuko threw it back in his fucking face.
Yeah.
Every single time.
That's why everyone kind of compares Zuko a little bit to Anakin in the sense that like he's just an angsty teen. But I'm like, guys, it's his age, man. What do you want him to do?
He's 14.
Yeah, he's 14,
literally
dishonored.
14 years old.
Kicked the fuck out of his.
He was dishonored. He was forced to fight his father in a match to the death.
He's horribly disfigured.
And he just disfigured as punishment, and he's fucking exiled.
Yeah, like guys, take it easy on my boy Zuko.
Yeah.
Plus Zuko has this beautiful redemption arc too. So
absolutely.
Hey guys, I'm Zuko. It's where all the It's where all the fangirls fell in love with him because he's just when he's not angry, he's just so socially awkward.
Oh my god! Well, I think that started to change in the second season because then he loses his ponytail, his hair changes.
Yeah.
He goes on a date at one point.
I know,
Tales of Boxing say he goes on a date with somebody, which was a beautiful story too.
Because when all you know is just being angry in boxing.
Yeah.
And then you have to actually involve yourself in social situations. You
you're in a situation where you can't fight.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to capture the Avatar.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Just like, guys, I would like to train Aang. You're like, what? I'm gonna throw the question back to you.
Yeah.
But you can't say Iroh.
Well then. No, it wasn't gonna be.
Just so we can get some variety.
No, it wasn't gonna be Iroh anyways.
There's some good ones. There's not a lot. There's honestly not a lot of wrong answers for this.
Part of me is like confused because I think I'm forgetting somebody to put in my kind of list of who I would have to choose from. But I'm gonna stick with
the Cabbage Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
just end a conversation.
Yeah. All right. Join us next time. So I would say for that.
Sure.
Because I want to be generic too and say Zuko. Because
okay.
But at the same time, even though he didn't get a lot of screen time, Zhang to me is.
See, that was
He's
interesting.
so
We were watching a tier list earlier, and they were going through, and they stumbled upon John, and both of us blurted out like completely different areas
Yeah.
on the graph. So I guess that's interesting. He
For
does
me-
not have a lot of screen time, though.
I know, not at all. But for me, he was just such a. I think he should have had more screen time. I think he would have been very influential because the story with Zhang was he was introduced in season 1 as the first person, and we talked about it in the last episode, but he was the first person to desert the Fire Nation army. He was a high-ranking general, a potent firebender, I think considerably one of the best firebenders, tiered up with Iroh and shit like that. And he didn't want to deal with the war. He knew it was terrible, so he turned his back on everything, and he realized deserting the army would be deserting the Fire Nation, so he exiled himself, which is beautiful. And then when Aang meets him to learn firebending, he says, no, I'm not going to teach you firebending. And he has good reasons. He's like, you have to learn it in the cycle that you're supposed to. You have to learn water. But then he goes into it too. He says, water is calm and cooling. Earth is strong and stable. He's like, you need to have those foundations before you learn something as volatile as firebending. Or the writers reconnect everything with that motif of how fire is uncontrollable, because he's like, you can waterbend, and the worst thing that could happen is things are wet. He's like, you can earthbend, the worst things happen, things get once it stops bending, once you stop bending, the element no longer has any volition. He's like, but with fire, as soon as you bend fire onto something, it will keep burning until it's extinguished. So fire will continue to quote unquote bend itself until there's nothing left to burn, which was a really great point. And I think at that point, Zhang considers himself cursed with firebending, which is crazy because he's like this uber powerful like he literally fucking, like last season, he's flying. That's crazy. And he creates like walls of fire. His style is so unorthodox. Same with Iroh. Like they're just these firebenders who are very unorthodox firebending, because firebending is very literally explosive, forceful, impactful. They do a lot of punch, a lot of kicks. But you see Zhang, you see Iroh. They're trying to incorporate these defensive maneuvers, and their styles are very different than standard firebending. It's really, really cool. As their minds and personalities change, they try to develop these different natures and try to not apply and then reapply fire in these different ways. And then what we find out later on in that same episode with season 1 is Aang is trying to learn firebending, as we talked about, and he's giving Aang all these different lessons. He's like, well, the first thing we have to do is, it doesn't even look like training. And then Aang gets very frustrated because Aang's always like, ready to go, like, I'm an airbender, we gotta do everything right now. And he's, to his credit, he's an incredibly skilled bender.
He's also an impatient, 13-year-old?
12, yeah. So it's like, on top of that, and then like he knows he has the capability, which, to his credit, he does have the capability, but he's not listening.
You also have to remember, in his previous background, before 100 years ago, he wasn't the most patient guy even back then.
No.
It's hard to expect Aang to have been anything other than the...
Yeah, exactly. And then
Zhang,
what happened was Zhang was trying to tell him, he was trying to discourage him. He's like, no, I will not teach you firebending. And then what ends up happening is Avatar Roku appears on the scene to Zhang. He's like, I've learned the elements 1,000 lifetimes before this. You will teach me, and I will do it again. And that's when Zhang says, all right, fine.
This is kind of interesting that we've both chosen 2 OG firebenders as our favorites that are no longer part of the Fire Nation. That's actually kind of hilarious. Yeah. Because they're 2 different mentors for 2 different characters. Because a similar thing happened with Prince Zuko, if you remember. Because Prince Zuko came to a kind of a crossroads where suddenly his sister Azula is coming into play, and Azula can kick his ass. And like Zuko's like, well, I can't, fight her very well, all that stuff. That's because like Azula is, she's a good firebender. She's got like the passion and energy as well, but she's like cool, calm, and collected mentally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's cold and precise, and like she's got patience and stuff. Yeah. Zuko, all he has is the passion, and he doesn't know how to like direction it or anything like that. And so Iroh is like trying to teach him, you got to be calm if you're doing this. If you're just like angry all the time, you're gonna make mistakes, and you're not gonna ever be able to beat her. It's kind of funny that they do almost the same kind of teaching method, where like Aang and Zuko are kind of very similar in the sense that they're both bold and brash and kind of will do things without thinking, but they're fighting enemies who are more experienced than him. Yeah, they're just impulsive. So it's really cool that you bring that up, because those 2 characters, Iroh and Zhang, they're just such a dichotomy against like the entirety and like the persona and the imagery we kind of already associated with Fire Nation, which is exactly that.
conquering, fire, burn, explosive, impulsive, which is like the more Zuko at this point, Zuko end of things. And then Admiral Zhao, same with him. All they do is just like, well, we'll just keep putting fire on it until we've gotten our way, sort of thing. But Zhong and Iroh don't embody like the firebending spirit that has kind of been generalized, which I think at this point is very like imperialistic and is not as natural as it was prior to the war.
They're not based off of the old honorable and cool and intelligent.
Yeah,
which I think also plays into the whole Japanese philosophy.
For sure.
The elders in wisdom far exceeds the abilities of like the young and forceful on things.
But it's like both those characters, while they are so good firebenders, I think they just have the strength to be able to look at what their nation has become and say, no, like, I'm not going to be part of that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, Iroh fucking opens a fucking tea shop.
Yeah.
And the guy can breathe fire, but he opens a tea shop. Like, this is...
Like, I know it's hard for us within, like, the world we live in now to understand what it's like to be able to kind of go against things. But back then, like, or in times like then, like, it's very tough to turn your back on your culture. Because you have nowhere else to go because everyone else sees you as somebody who's turned against their culture.
Right.
So it's such a very strong thing to do. And they both do it for good reasons, and they're both very intelligent, and they hit all marks. Both characters, I think, hit both marks.
Yeah.
I do think my boy Zhong was kind of shafted for screen time. I think it's not fair. Avatar has a very bad habit of introducing these fucking killer characters, and then like you don't see them till like the end.
I'm pretty satisfied with the amount of screen time Iroh had.
Well, yeah, he's in every episode.
I was gonna say.
But like Boomy, same with Boomy. You barely see Boomy.
Yeah.
And he's like one of the best earthbenders of that day and age.
Yeah. To be fair though, if Boomy was around more often, I think the series would probably be only two seasons because the guy was just an absolute unit.
Oh yeah. Literally took back his city by himself.
Yeah. No. He's just bored. He literally will.
Oh yeah. Like, when they introduced the episode with Boomy is probably one of the best episodes in season 1 as well.
Oh, for sure.
Because obviously Aang didn't know who he was, but he knew who Aang was right away. And what he does is he started testing the Avatar. Boomy was like uncharacteristically smart because when you meet him, he just seems like a crazy king.
No, yeah, he was the ultimate in terms of like
the mad king,
the mad guy, the insane guy who's actually like a fucking genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he says it like straight out. It's like, Boomy, you're a genius. Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and then
I know you didn't ask, but like so if we're not including the epic Fire Nation generals, after Iroh, I'd probably put Toph, honestly.
Toph, yeah, that's a good choice.
Because the reason why I'm going to bring up Toph as a close second is because imagine the Avatar was still in ice, right?
Mm.
And he didn't exist. She is like the child prodigy of that century.
Yeah.
Like they were no one in terms of development. There's no one that could touch her, because she's like isn't she younger than Aang? Like a year. She's like a baby.
I don't recall exactly how old she is.
And she is demolishing people in an arena.
Yeah.
With her earthbending skills.
Oh, and did we have to mention that she's blind?
And she's fucking blind.
Yeah.
She's also one of the funniest characters in the whole thing. Her and Sokka's interactions were always the funniest.
Oh my god, yeah. Because she had like this like secret crush on him.
Yeah, or like with the moment where it's like they're trying to put up posters and she's like, "Why are you guys taking so long? It's easy." She like,
and then she does it upside.
She's like, "It's upside down, isn't it?" But it's like facing the wall.
And they're constantly like, "Oh my god, Toph, did you see that?" No, I'm blind.
Or like when they're looking for the library and she's like, "There it is," and they're all like, and she's like, "That's what it's gonna sound like when one of you spots it."
And she does the John Cena Magic Man. Oh shit. She was a great addition to the group.
She was probably one of the best.
Because she wasn't introduced till season 2. So we don't even see her, know of her at all.
Yeah.
Until like partway through season 2.
And she had a great backstory too.
Oh yeah.
People are trying to hunt her down. Her parents are overprotective.
Yeah, because she comes from a very wealthy, influential, the Bei Fongs. She comes from a wealthy, influential Earth Kingdom family. Mm-hmm. And in the background, secretly, she's like, because everybody knows that she's an earthbender.
Yeah.
But people see her as this blind girl.
This young blind girl.
But in reality, like literally underground, she's like the earth-bending prodigy. Like she creates the subset of bending, the metal bending.
Like at the age of 11 or whatever she was, she's teaching the Avatar.
Yeah, earthbending.
Earthbending.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So she's doing Boomy's job at like the age of 11. And she also created metal bending,
Yep.
which apparently became a huge thing in Legend Core, which is stupid. I liked it because it was unique to her, and she had to be super powerful to do it. But
Well, that was
everyone learns.
Well, that was a big part about Core too. Was the different how they utilize the different subsects. Like with fire, they utilized lightning to actually power electrical machinery.
Yeah.
They did. I don't like this, but they created lava bending for earth bending too, which it still doesn't make sense to me.
Mm.
I think that was it because there was already blood bending and stuff like that.
Mm.
They brought that back too, but like not in the same way. But they utilized the metal bending and stuff in different ways, which are a little cooler than you might think because you have to read into it. Because they create like the police that utilize metal bending, and then Toph's ancestors is in the show too, and she's just as badass.
Yeah, but isn't she like a jerk or whatever?
She's just as badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's as douchey as Toph was, but you know she has her moments too. So.
Yeah. But yeah, Toph's there. Then obviously Sokka. So those are my faves.
Oh yeah, Sokka's cool. Yeah, I think Zhong Zuko's up there.
Mm-hmm. Iroh, of course.
Boomy.
We said it earlier, but we're gonna say it again. He deserved more screen
Yeah, his
time.
screen time was not justified.
No. Even for only one season.
What's that?
Pardon me. If he's gonna be confined to season 1, at least have him like more
He wasn't
time
confined
in
to
that
season
season.
1. He showed up a couple different episodes in season 3.
I thought they were only like flashbacks though.
There was one flashback, but then they brought him back to real time near the end.
Oh, okay.
The White Lotus. He was part of that.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you wanted to bring up in terms of your thoughts, theories, and opinions?
Well, let's stick with season 1. Do you have a favorite episode from season 1? And if so, why?
Oof, that is tough. Hold on, let me get the episode list right out. I got it right here.
Because there were, I mean, with every show, you have episodes that could be strictly filler. But the thing with Avatar was most episodes were having something that changed someone or brought more story to the forefront or evolved the main running story. So I'd say there was a minority of episodes that didn't bring anything to it. I think season 1, for the most part, had a lot of those filler episodes.
Yeah, season 1 did. I think they were getting just accustomed to the world.
For sure, which makes sense. You know, because like I said, it wasn't until episode 8 that their main goal was actually given some urgency.
Honestly, there's a lot of good episodes. Like I said, a lot of my favorite episodes actually come from season 2.
Yeah.
Let's see. Honestly, the Warriors of Kyoshi.
That was a good one.
Episode 4.
Yeah.
Because I did love the Kyoshi Warriors. I thought that was great. I think the Kyoshi Warriors and the strong female characters in Avatar were important.
I think that was still a big thing.
Because in 2005,
was that still like kind of a thing that wasn't super?
It wasn't common. Not to my knowledge. Like I don't know a whole lot of powerful female other than like maybe Starfire, Raven. Yeah, not a lot in terms of the action. Like in terms of action series specifically, action was still kind of a boys' toy.
Yeah.
Like G.I. Joe figures, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you didn't have.
Yeah.
You didn't have.
Nowadays it's more common because you got like a million shows for every different side character. So you got like things like Marvel has a million female.
Yeah, everyone
shows.
gets their just.
Ahsoka's getting her own show.
But you have to remember, like back then, which what
2005.
2005, so however long ago that was.
So that
wasn't a thing. It wasn't just like
20 years ago.
One of the main characters was a woman, but then like or two of the main characters, but then like one of the most powerful like villains was a woman.
Yeah, and they didn't succumb to Rey syndrome where they just gave her a bunch of powers and no depth. Like no. These guys all had, they had their reasoning, they had their creeds.
Mm-hmm.
They stuck to a theme. Sokka was getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
And he came to respect because remember Sokka was
at the beginning he was like, oh, I'm a man. Like,
because
you're in a man's world.
The Water Tribe only let the men fight. Only let the men go into the fights. The women and the children stayed back at the nations. But he wasn't old enough to join his father in the fight.
Yeah.
So he was always like, all right, well,
so
I'm the man of the family. I'm gonna protect the kids from the Fire Nation. He runs up with his like boomerang and then like 4 episodes later, he gets humbled hardcore by the Warriors of Kyoshi, which is like an almost all women's.
But it is an all women's. Because to his credit, he eventually comes around. He's like, I apologize for.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I think that's why it happened so fast. Episode 4, like we want this character not to be sexist the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
So he starts to realize, and Saga's a player. It's a handsome man. So Kyoshi Warriors, he started to kind of get a thing for strong women.
Oh yeah.
And I think that is a very good translator to what I think the creators of Avatar were trying to push in society with it.
Absolutely.
It's not just a bunch of like girls playing with dolls,
No. I mean, the whole show was about as...
It was very progressive.
Yeah. Hit
Much
every-
like Star Trek, you know,
Yeah.
trying to make societal changes as well.
So you think the Kyoshi Warriors was your favorite episode from season 1?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, this is a few good ones, but the Kyoshi
Yeah.
Warriors, because it was just solid all the way through.
Yeah.
You had that like water dragon fight or whatever it was, whatever water creature there was.
Oh, the big fish thing.
Yeah, so you had that going on. You had they're bringing the Society of Kyoshi. This is the first time you kind of realize that there are other avatars that people know about.
Yeah.
And still worship to this day.
Because the Kyoshi Warriors, none of them were benders.
No.
Yeah.
No, they were all just straight warrior units, man.
Yeah, they were cool.
And you know, you had that character development with Sokka, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
It was just a good.
Zuko came
It
back.
was just
in
a
and was
solid episode all the way through, which I think is what I'm gonna use as my Geiger counter. Because there were other episodes that had like better moments, like
Yeah,
cooler
for sure.
moments. But in terms of like from start to finish,
Fully through.
I think that was good. Yeah, like if I saw that on TV, I would watch it all the way through, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
How about yourself?
Well, I have two.
You
but
can't use a two-parter.
No, I wasn't. No.
No, okay.
Yeah, we're not. No, you can't do season finales. Yeah, but I would say, short of the one with Jong Jong, which I think again was like just solid through and through, exactly as you say, like the entire time, like you're very enveloped in the story. The episode where the Blue Spirit is introduced, where Aang.
Oh, Zuko, yeah.
Yeah, so
I forgot the name of that episode. That was up there for me. I just forgot.
I
the
think
name
it was
of
called the Blue Spirit. But what happened was, in the episode, Sokka and Katara get sick. Aang goes on this little quest to save them, which he finds out are like, oh, you have to collect these frogs, and you have to have your friends suck on these frogs. But what ends up happening is, because Aang's by himself, he gets captured. Not by Zuko, he gets captured by Admiral Zhao. Well, somebody rescues him. Somebody dressed in this mask, who they call the Blue Spirit. He wears the Blue Spirit mask. He uses twin broadswords, which can be put together and sheathed as one sword, which is fucking dope as shit. And you just see this badass bandit, like, somehow, for some reason, rescuing Aang. And what ends up happening is, later in the episode, when the Blue Spirit gets knocked out, and then Aang rescues Blue Spirit back, and while they're sitting there chilling, Aang makes a discovery. Who the Blue Spirit is. Which happens to be Zuko.
Oh, man.
So he wasn't technically rescued, he was trying to be recaptured by Zuko. Because literally that is Zuko's goal for all of season 1. It's just, hey, Avatar.
And some of season 2, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. He gets back into it, yep.
Yeah.
For sure. But like, that's all, every time you see him in the first season, that's all his intent was. It's just to capture Aang, right? And you do get tired of it, but it's just like, look, that's what his
Well, he had a one-dimensional goal: regain honor. How do I regain honor?
Yeah.
I regain honor, capture Avatar.
I mean, I would say back then,
Yeah.
2005 me was like fucking sick of seeing Zuko every fucking second just trying to capture Aang. It's like, deal with this
I
guy.
thought it was a really cool episode too, because this is the first time that you saw like weapons used in a way
Yeah.
that wasn't just as an extra. Because you know the extras had their spears, but who the fuck cared about what
Yeah.
they were doing? This was the first time that you saw like the blades of the Orients, the Eastern, the Asian.
Oh yeah, and then
blades.
Jet, I think to his credit, Jet utilized those
Yeah, that's why I thought Jet
hooked
was
swords
pretty sick.
were so fucking cool. It was really cool to see characters that were not benders being able to take on benders. Coolest fucking thing. Suki, Jet, Zuko as a Blue Spirit, because there was a couple episodes where he only used his swords because he couldn't firebend. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I suppose Sokka at some point, but for the most of the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jet's gang, I think, was all.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of them. Yep, they all kind of specialized.
Yeah, and then Sokka's master in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Who was
Pian Dao.
used- Yeah. Yeah, they were all pretty sick, my dude.
Oh yeah, they really buffed any character that couldn't bend. They made them near superhuman.
Yeah. So, to continue and maybe start to go on the wrapping up part, what are you excited for the most for in season 2, which is on the horizon?
Ooh, what am I most excited for to talk about?
It is my favorite season, so what do you got?
Well, short of Toph, which I know you're going to be handling that
for sure.
But I think the Zuko's character progression throughout the entire season 2, because he develops
the most in
literally he develops, undevelops, like he goes through an entire roller coaster. He goes from this super
and haircuts.
He goes through this super static, one-dimensional character, as we just discussed. In season 2, he's something different, literally, in every other episode. He's like, he's in a different situation. He's either learning, or he's rebounding, or he's dropping off the horse again. Like, you can't track him.
Yeah.
He can't even track himself. And, like, the emotional highs and lows in that season are really good, too. All around, you have Tales of Ba Sing Se, which is a fantastic filler episode, trying to give more flesh to each individual character. Short of that is the introduction of Azula, who's a fantastic villain.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, my friend? What are you excited for to talk about in season Dukes.
Yeah, man. To piggyback of what you said, because I love I come
Talk all day.
yeah. But
Talk about tough.
Zuko's progression also is pretty sick.
Oh, yeah.
Because Zuko, like, I mean, I like to say this all the time. People don't believe me when I say this, but I have like chronically dry eyes. So I have like naturally very dry eyes, and I also have like allergies that like literally dry my eyes out. So it's pretty hard for me to cry. I don't usually cry that often, but like when Zuko is like yelling at the lightning in the sky to tell him to strike him, he's like, "Strike me!" Like I teared up. Like that was an emotional ass scene. So literally, season 2, dude, his roller coaster of emotions and turbulence and all that stuff. I 100% agree with you that that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most to reliving.
I think as a whole, it is the best season in terms of like it keeps you on the edge of your seat. So I can easily see why it's your favorite, because there is no, while the goals and the recurring themes are still there, you don't necessarily know how things are going to end up at the end of every episode. So like something changes in every like instance to like the culmination of the season.
Yeah. I think just like how if you were to imagine like the 3 books as 3 acts of a play, you kind of got your kind of building action, which is like the season 1, which is like the fun and games with the penguins, but you can see shit starting to get real, especially towards the end. And then like season 2 is like things are pretty high up there right now, because Aang has to fucking learn bending.
But then it also brings you back down because they're inside Bossing Say, they're safe.
I'm saying this as like I'm being very general because I mean I'm saying 3 acts of a play, but each of them has 3 acts of a play inside their own.
Yes. So
I see what you're saying. It's kind of multifaceted. But what I'm saying is like in terms of the action, like Earth has a lot of action. You got Zuko versus Aang, Zuko versus Azula, Iroh versus this guy.
Then you have Aang, Sokka, Katara, Zuko, and Iroh against Azula.
And then you have this, that. Then you got Jet randomly. You get all these guys.
And it gets you very confused too, because you start to wonder like, wait, who's on what side again? In too many instances, you have to like. It's a season. I think if any of the seasons, that one needs to be rewatched multiple times to get like the full picture.
And I remember too, because remember I started with season 2.
Yeah, right.
I did not start with season 1.
Yeah.
So when I went back and watched season 1, I'm like, oh shit, Azula's not even involved in this.
Nope. She was introduced at the end.
Because Azula is such a core element of season 2.
From then on, she's part of the picture.
Her and her posse.
Because she's Zuko's brother. I don't even know if we mentioned that, but she's Zuko's brother or sister.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm Azula.
And she's an amazing character too, because she also has a bit of a roller coaster, because she's already slightly insane, and her insanity really progresses until season 3, where she's basically king.
I don't even think it's a roller coaster. I think it's just like a downhill slide.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a great one, because that's also one of the few times that you see that like Azula is actually like she's a killer. Like she's a lot more intelligent with the way that she tracks the Avatar than Zuko is. I had that episode that played all the time that I really loved. It's the one where everyone's fucking exhausted, like they haven't gotten any sleep because the train that Azula's on.
Oh, he's chasing them. Yeah.
Appa's hair.
Yeah.
And like that's a huge thing because everyone's pushed to the edge from character wise.
And even we don't know.
Katara gets sassy as shit.
The viewers, we don't know how the hell this fucking thing keeps finding them. There's gotta be something going on.
Literally, on the big ass lizards and stuff. Like Azula's just like gunning for them the whole time. And that pushes. I think that was a great method to not only use the character's exhaustion to try and get more out of them. Try and get their multifaceted. Because people are going to act differently when they're stressed and all that stuff. Yeah. But also it shows just how lethal Azula is, because Zuko didn't do any of that shit. Zuko's just like, where is Avatar?
Find him, blast with fire.
Avatar over here. Oh, fire. Versus Azula's like, no, I know this shit. I know how to
track
hunt
people.
A guy down. So. It was really the other side of the family that you're dealing with.
But just to expound upon what you had said earlier is like, up until that point, up until Azula was introduced, even with Zhao, like the most violence was pretty harmless violence. But Azula was like trying to kill people.
Yeah, no. People are gonna die today.
The biggest thing with her was, even though you always knew that she had something shitty up her sleeve, you weren't quite sure how it was gonna show. Which was crazy.
You never felt safe with Azula.
No.
Plus, there was so much going on in season 2, like the whole. I love the Earth Kingdom. I think it's just a great like out of all the kingdoms, I think it's like one of the more beautiful ones.
Well, that's the
all
biggest.
structured.
I think they spent the most time in the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah, and they had the
lands.
most infrastructure, and you got to see, you know, kind of the way that the refugees worked out with.
Yeah.
You got to see, you know, Zuko and Iroh living a normal life for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. Zuko going on a date, which was kind of fun. But you also saw like that societal upheaval where like Ba Sing Se, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
That kind
Which
of weird.
anybody who knows Avatar, if you say there is no war in Ba Sing Se, they will get that reference instantly. That's how iconic those episodes were, because it was a massive thing, man.
Yeah.
So there's
Societal
that.
brainwashing.
Then of course Toph. I mean I already talked. I'm not gonna talk your ear off of Toph again. Amazing character, like a prodigy of her time. Plus she's a kid, so she's also like, you know, she's running out of her house, trying to practice bending, getting into fights and all that stuff. And she's also got a character development where she's not just like her problems all vanish after she goes to help Aang.
No.
Literally, like the boulder and another expert fucking earthbender chases after her.
It wasn't the boulder. It was the referee for the fights. Him and Toph's teacher went after her. That's who that guy was. He was an earthbender too, but it wasn't the boulder. I think the boulder might have like tipped him off or something.
Oh,
like
that's right. Sorry.
But the two guys that were actually.
I remember because there was one from the arena and then one from her personal home.
Yeah, the arena was the referee. Like, let's get ready to rumble.
That's right. The guy
that
with
guy.
the long.
Yeah,
hair.
yep. Yeah, it was
that's
him.
correct.
And it was her teacher.
Yeah, and then you had like even the side characters got action. Like Appa was kidnapped.
Yeah, the whole
Sokka,
fucking library shit.
Yeah, and then you got the giant owl.
That was scary.
That was creepy.
He fucking scared me.
That scared the shit out of me as a kid. And then you got like the you know, the saga with the legendary moments where Sokka's high off cactus juice with
That was, oh my god.
with Momo, one of the funniest things of all time. Just big squishy friend.
It's the quenchiest.
I think it was just the best. It's everything. There was not a episode that I wouldn't watch twice. So.
Solid choice. I'm excited because I think you're going to be running the next one for the season.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah. Especially given that background.
And then it goes into season 3 where things get fucking dark.
I think season 3 is my personal favorite.
Yeah. She got dark though.
Shit got real.
And now you're a bloodbender.
Meanwhile, me and my friend who we're like not even barely teenagers, were like, what the fuck was that, man?
Yeah, you see like bones cracking and shit.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
I thought there was like fire and water, not people like snapping their
You
own
go from
flesh.
fun mushroom to fucking horror movie.
To like horror voodoo in the middle of the woods with this evil hag.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was watching it on my friend's couch with the premiere, and literally, as soon as the TV like shuts off or goes to commercial or whatever, my friend, he turns to me and goes, he's like, dude, that was just scary. not even like
Fun.
You know, well, it was like what I forget what his exact wording was, but it's like that was scary. Not even like cool scary or whatever. That was just fucking scary.
That's like I don't want to see that past my TV screen.
I don't feel comfortable anymore.
It's
so yeah, things start to heat up literally in season 3, which I think you'll probably, since it's your favorite, you'll take that.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
So yeah, we'll go back and forth. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking with us on this quest.
Yeah, as always, don't be afraid to share your thoughts, theories, opinions.
Quite right.
Which I think with our Avatar segment, which we will figure out the name of or find the name of later, it's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of opinion based. I think we're going to do some serious deep dives simply because the material is there, just how rich every aspect of the show is.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
In case you couldn't tell from us rambling for the past however long you've been listening to this
hour, 2
podcast.
minutes and 48, 49 seconds.
Yeah, you can tell that we're really passionate about it. So feel free to voice off your opinions. Tell us in the comments just who your favorite character is and why. You can't say Iroh, you can't say...
Yeah.
We're getting specific on this. We want some variety.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time on Fanboys Box Zero.